She said, "If you can't handle my flirting, maybe you're too weak for me." I smiled. Thanks for the honesty. Then I walked out, leaving her with the check. Hours later, her own friends messaged me, admitting even they were tired of covering for her games. I, 32 male, am a data analyst, a man who finds comfort in predictable patterns. For 3 years, my girlfriend, Qley, 30, was a pattern I thought I understood. For the last 18 months, she lived in my apartment, a space that became progressively less calm as her need for external validation grew. The primary symptom was her harmless flirting, a constant performance for every waiter, barista, or friend who entered her orbit. When I'd voice my discomfort, I was met with a masterclass in gaslighting. "Don't be so sensitive. Are you trying to control me? It's just fun, you're being insecure." I started to believe it. Maybe I was the problem. The pattern broke last night. The final, clarifying data point was entered, and the conclusion was undeniable. We were at an upscale restaurant celebrating her friend Sarah's promotion. The whole friend group was there. From the moment we sat down, Qley was performing. The target was our waiter. Every interaction was an innuendo-laced spectacle. "What would you recommend for someone who's feeling adventurous tonight?" she'd ask, locking eyes with him. I watched our friends, Sarah, Marcus, and Ava, find sudden, intense interest in their menus, the ceiling, their phones. They had seen this show before. The final act came with dessert. As the waiter described the tiramisu, she leaned forward and purred, "You are just so passionate about your job. It's really attractive." A cone of silence fell over our table. The waiter fled. The cringe was a physical force. I kept my voice a whisper. "Qley, can you please stop? It's embarrassing." She looked at me as if I'd spit in her food. "Excuse me? You're being disrespectful. To me, to our friends, to him." She unleashed a sharp, disbelieving laugh, looking to her friends for support. Finding none, she turned her full, cold fury on me. "You know what, Liam? This is your insecurity. It's just flirting. It means nothing." "It means something to me," I said quietly. "It means you don't respect me." She leaned in, a cruel smirk twisting her lips, and delivered the sentence that would end us. "If you can't handle my flirting, maybe you're too weak for me." Everything went still. The restaurant noise, the clinking glasses, it all just vanished. It wasn't an insult, it was a diagnosis. She saw my request for respect as a weakness she could exploit. In that moment of absolute clarity, the woman I thought I loved was replaced by a mean-spirited stranger. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I simply smiled. "Thanks for the honesty," I said. I pulled out my wallet, placed enough cash on the table to cover my share and a generous tip, and stood up. Qley's smirk faltered. "What are you doing?" "Proving you right," I said. "I am too weak for you. Or maybe just too old for these games. Either way, we're done." I nodded to the table. "Sarah, congratulations. Sorry to do this at your dinner." Then I turned and walked out, leaving her with the stunned faces of her friends and a hefty bill. The night air was a relief. The constant, low-level anxiety I'd been living with for months evaporated. I went home to my quiet apartment and turned off my phone. Hours later, I turned it back on. No calls from Qley, but there were messages from Sarah, Ava, and Marcus. They all said the same thing, in their own words. "You did the right thing. We are so tired of her drama, we've got your back." The validation was absolute. I wasn't being insecure, I wasn't being controlling. I was just the first one with the guts to walk out of the theater. I knew the real confrontation was still to come. She had a key, and her life was woven into the fabric of my apartment. But for the first time in a long time, I wasn't afraid. I was ready. Update 1. The 2 days of silence that followed the great walkout were a calculated tactic, designed to make me panic and beg for her return. It didn't work. On Sunday afternoon, the entitled storm made landfall, starting with a text from her mother's phone. "I know you blocked me. Very mature. Are you going to let me get my things, or are you going to hold them hostage like a child?" No apology, no self-awareness, just pure, indignant accusation. Me, "You're not blocked. You can get your things. Let me know what day and time works, and I'll have them boxed up for you in the entryway." "The entryway? I need to come in and pack. Don't be ridiculous." "Me, I'd prefer if you didn't. I'll be thorough. Just give me a time." She didn't reply. Instead, she showed up unannounced at 6 p.m. I'd anticipated this. A locksmith had already been and gone. I was in the kitchen when I heard the key scrape, jiggle, and scrape again, followed by frantic pounding. I opened the door, leaving the chain on. Her face was a mask of fury. "My key isn't working," she snapped. "I know," I said calmly. "I changed the locks." Disbelief warred with outrage on her face. "You what? You can't do that. I live here. My name is on the lease, only my name," I stated. "You are a guest, Qley, and your stay is over." "A guest? A guest?" she shrieked. "My whole life is in there. You can't just end 3 years over one stupid comment." It wasn't one comment, it was the final one. "And there is one other thing we need to discuss before you get your stuff. The Eden Project." Mentioning it stopped her cold. The Eden Project was our name for the massive, custom-built terrarium in the living room. It was my passion and my creation, a $7,000 ecosystem I had designed and paid for myself, housing rare orchids and a collection of poison dart frogs. Qley loved to claim it as ours on Instagram, but her only contribution had been pointing at a few rocks. Her eyes narrowed. "What about it? Of course I'm taking it. It's ours." "No," I said simply. "It's mine. You're not taking it." "You selfish jerk," she raged. "I helped design that. It's the centerpiece of my entire online brand." "Then your brand will have to survive without it," I said. "I have the receipts for every component. It's my property." "I'll take you to court," she screamed. "Good," I said. "Have your paralegal brother look up property laws regarding non-marital assets while you're at it." I'd had enough. "Now, I'm closing the door. Send me a text to arrange a time to pick up your boxes. If you show up unannounced again, I'll consider it harassment. Goodbye, Qley." I closed the door on her sputtering rage and slid the deadbolt home. My heart was pounding with adrenaline, but it was the thrill of a boundary held firm. The smear campaign began the next day, with an Instagram story about how I'd had a mental breakdown and thrown her out on the street while stealing her property. Then came dirty trick number 1, an email from my building management about an anonymous noise complaint, citing loud, aggressive shouting from my unit on Sunday night, the exact time she was screaming in the hallway. It was a transparent attempt to get me in trouble. I calmly explained to management that an ex-partner, not on the lease, had caused a disturbance outside my apartment. They noted it and dropped it. It was clear she wasn't just leaving. She was trying to burn my life down on her way out. This was no longer just a breakup. It was an exorcism. Update 2. The last 2 weeks have been an escalation in entitlement and malice. The chess game continued. Only my opponent kept trying to knock my king over with her fist. The pickup was set for Saturday at noon. I told her a friend of mine would have to be present. At 11:55 a.m., a full-sized moving van pulled up. My friend Marcus was already on my couch, a silent pillar of support. At noon sharp, the bell rang. It was Qley, flanked by her older, more intimidating brother, Derek, and 2 hulking movers. Derek stepped forward, trying to use his height to loom over me. "Liam, let's make this easy. You let my sister get all of her property, and we can be done with this." "That was the plan," I said, gesturing to the 20 boxes stacked in the entryway. "Everything is right here." Qley's eyes immediately darted to the Eden Project, humming peacefully in the corner. "You didn't pack the terrarium," she said, her voice flat. "Correct. It's not yours." Derek scoffed. "Don't be an idiot. She paid for half of that." "No, she didn't," I replied. "I have every receipt and credit card statement to prove it. It's my property." "We designed it together," Qley wailed, performing for her brother. "He's doing this just to hurt me." Derek stepped into my personal space. "Look, we're not leaving without it. So either you let these guys load it, or this is going to get a lot more complicated for you." This was the test. The moment they expected me to buckle, Marcus stood up behind me. "It's not leaving this apartment, Derek," I said, my voice solid. "If you try to take it, I will call the police and report it as theft. Your movers can be charged as accessories. I'm sure they'd rather not have a criminal record." The movers exchanged a nervous look. Derek's face went crimson. He was a bully, and his intimidation tactics weren't working. They were cornered. They spent the next 45 minutes hauling boxes, muttering curses. Their entire focus had been on the one trophy they couldn't claim. As they left, Qley delivered a parting shot. "You're going to regret this, Liam. I'm going to make sure everyone knows what a pathetic, controlling monster you really are." On Monday morning, I discovered what she meant. Dirty trick number 2 landed in my inbox, an email from HR titled, "Urgent, Formal Complaint Review." My blood ran cold. An anonymous complaint alleged a pattern of unstable and harassing behavior, claiming I was using company resources to stalk and intimidate a former partner. It suggested my erratic emotional state was a risk to the workplace. She was trying to get me fired. I scheduled a meeting with my manager and HR immediately. I calmly laid out the facts: the breakup, the timeline, the landlord complaint, and the confrontation with her brother. I pointed out that the complaint used the exact phrase, "controlling monster," that she had screamed at me days before. My boss and HR saw it for what it was, a malicious, bad faith attack. They documented it and dismissed it, but the damage was done. The hurt from the breakup was gone, replaced by a cold, hard anger. She wasn't just lashing out, she was trying to destroy me. That night, talking with Marcus, I realized that playing defense was no longer enough. It meant I was still playing her game, by her rules. It was time to go on the offensive. Not with aggression, but with strategy. Her entire identity was built on her social standing, curated on Instagram, and cemented by her annual, over-the-top winter gala. It was the cornerstone of her social influence, the source of her power. It was 3 weeks away, and I was going to take it all away from her. Final update: it's been 2 months. The war is over, won not with a single battle, but with a quiet, decisive campaign that dismantled an empire of entitlement. After Qley tried to torpedo my career, her friends reached a breaking point. Sarah called me, her voice tight with rage. "That's it, I'm done making excuses for her. What can I do to help?" That was the spark. I told her my plan. Qley's Winter Gala was an annual exercise in performative excess. This year's theme was Fire and Ice, complete with a black-tie dress code and custom ice sculptures. It was all about her. Our counteroffensive was the polar opposite. We planned our own event for the same night. We called it The Thaw. The invitation, sent to a private group chat of about 50 people from our overlapping circles, was simple. Tired of performative parties? Join us for The Thaw. A night of good food, real conversation, and zero drama. Come as you are. The location was my apartment. The centerpiece? The Eden Project, a thriving symbol of what she felt entitled to but refused to care for. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Nearly everyone RSVP'd yes within hours. Sarah, Ava, and Qley's other former best friends became my co-conspirators. They knew her guest list, and they knew who was sick of the drama. On the night of the party, Qley was posting an Instagram countdown showing off her dress and the venue. Meanwhile, my apartment was filling up with people who were genuinely happy to be there. It was warm, relaxed, and real. Around 9:30 p.m., the first field reports came in from a friend who had a spy at the gala. Spy text: "It's a ghost town. The DJ is playing to like 15 people. Qley keeps frantically checking her phone. She knows." A little later, spy text: "She's crying in the bathroom. Her brother is trying to rally the 3 friends she has left. It's a total disaster." The news spread through our party, not with gloating, but with a collective sigh of relief. Everyone there had been used as a prop in Qley's life at some point. Tonight was their quiet declaration of independence. Standing by the terrarium with Sarah, she mused, "She loved showing this off, but she never did any of the work to keep it alive." Kind of a metaphor for all her friendships, really. That said it all. The gala was a spectacular failure. Qley reportedly had a meltdown, Derek got aggressive, and the night ended in shambles. The next day, I received a final, unhinged voicemail. You did this. You planned this. You turned my friends against me. You stole my life. You stole my terrarium. You stole my party. You are a pathetic, vindictive snake, Liam. You think this is over? You ruined everything. Everything." Listening to it with Marcus, he shook his head. "She still doesn't get it. She thinks you did this to her. She doesn't understand she did this to herself. We all just finally got out of the way." I blocked her number and scrubbed the last of her from my life. In the months since, Qley's social media has become a ghost town. Her social currency, built on a foundation of manipulation, is officially bankrupt. The last I heard, she's planning to move to a new city for a fresh start. The classic solution for someone who has burned every bridge. My life is quiet now, and my friendships are stronger than ever. The Thaw has become a monthly potluck tradition. The Eden Project in my living room is a daily reminder that beautiful things require work and respect to survive. Qley only ever valued the display, never the effort. She didn't just lose a boyfriend, she lost the one thing she truly cared about, her audience. The show is over, the lights are down, and the theater is empty. In the quiet, I'm finally at peace. That's a better revenge than I ever could have planned.